Okay. Good morning. Good. You can send message to chat. Okay, great. Do you see my screen? Cool. So I welcome everybody in this web class. Thank you all for coming. This is amazing that you are here. And so we starting. I will remind you about today about our schedule. We have 5 sessions for 5 days. Today is 18th of May, and today's session will be general, more theory, less practice, but everything is very important. We will talk today about where are we today, and about Visual Studio Code, where we are moving, and the next 4 sessions will be more practice. So on 22 of May, we will look at apps approach, and we will start creating a new app. And on the 25th of May, we will continue to develop our app, and we will connect it with the web services and REST API with other world. On 29th of May, we will speak about what is certification, what technology behind it, and why should we use it, and what users who are using our apps expects from us as from developers. And on 30th of May, we will look at new technologies such as headlines, machine learning, and we will talk about how to publish our apps to App Source. On the bottom of this slide, you see a short link, and this is a Google Doc with a very with a detailed schedule for each day. So you can look at it. It is not open for other world, so it's only for you, and so you can plan and understand what topics we will cover each day, and maybe you will have some comments on this agenda, and if you will send me such comments in advance, I can maybe add something or remove something. So a little words about me. My name is Dmitry Katson. I live in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I have 13 years of NAV experience, and I had very I worked on different jobs, and I had my own company, and I worked in a Gold Partner, and I worked on a customer, so I know this business from different sides. And from 1st of May, I am an MVP on business solutions. Some housekeeping rules. All sessions are recorded, and after each session you will receive homework, and I will check your homework individually if you want it. And each session will be started with questions and answers, and also offline chat will be available for our group. We will choose a messenger that you want to be communicated with a little bit later. And everyone after 5 of sessions will get electronic certificate about after this course that you passed it. And if you have a question, you can raise your hand. You should have such a button, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. So it's a live education for you. So my goal is provide you all experience about modern technologies, about modern developer tools, and if you have a question, just interrupt me and ask, please. Robert, okay. All presentations also will be shared with you after session, so you can just look at it after. And some NDA also. Please don't share these recordings of this course with anyone, because this is you paid for this. And don't share also presentations and code that we will use during this course. So all this experience that I will give you is for you and only for you. And I want to ask you some question about what messenger will be preferred to you to communicate offline. Yeah, so you can just click on option that will be preferable to you. Okay, so 100% for WhatsApp, great. Then we will use WhatsApp. And to use WhatsApp, please send me, you have my mail, and I will also show you my mail on the end of this presentation. Send me please your phone numbers, because WhatsApp needs them, and I will organize everything else. So today we'll cover these topics. Why are you here? What is Dynamics 365 Business Central? What is modern development environment? How to install and set up it? And I will give some homework. And to start topic about why are you here, we will start. We will remind ourselves about the history of NAV. It was started in 1985, and it is 31 years old. And every year and every version was an evolution. And I will not go deeply in every version yet here, because I think you maybe know all this functionality. But what is important is that with every version, with every year, technologies, they were evolutions. And every technology appears on the market. They move NAV internal functionality further. And you see on this slide how UI was changed. And changing UI also changed the technology behind it. And changing a technology means that skills for support of NAV and for extending and for customization it also so the developer need to learn more and more. So at the beginning, it was only a language which was called AL, and then appears CL when client-oriented, when two-level architecture appears, client-based, and also when Microsoft gathered bought Navision product, SQL database appears. So developers start to learn SQL scripts also. Then .NET Interop also was supported, so developers should add this knowledge. And also report builder was presented. Yeah. Then PowerShell appears. And now with Business Central, we have VS Code, AL, and some REST APIs, and many more technologies that we can use. So what does it mean to be a modern developer? And what skills should modern developer have in the future? Modern developer should understand and use modern technologies. And also, he should apply modern programming languages. And also, he should use ready services. And on the top of that, modern developer should also understand business needs of customers to apply all these technologies and programming languages and the services in a high quality. And under technologies, I mean Docker, Git, Visual Studio Code, REST API, and others. Under programming languages, I mean AL, C#, JavaScript, R, and Python for machine learning, TypeScript, and PowerShell. And under services, I mean Azure Functions, machine learning, cognitive services, Power BI, Logic Apps, IoT, and many more. And you see this that dots here, and all these dots means that our technologies and programming languages and services they developed every day, and every day there is something new. And you, as a modern developer, should follow this. And on these sessions, on our 5 sessions, we will use Docker, Git, VS Code, and REST API. We will use AL, and we will use machine learning and cognitive services. So a modern developer should learn every day. He should be in community just to know what is coming and what is new, and to share his knowledge, because we all learn every day. And you should use ready services. So don't reinvent the wheel. Just check maybe for your solution, for your functionality is something ready, and use it. Now we have different technologies to use ready services. And we should use modern tools and we should open to something new. I think you saw this slide, but I will mention it just everybody will be on the same stage. We had and we have Dynamics NAV 2018, which is on-premise product, and also it could be hosted on the cloud. But what we have also now is a Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is hosted on the cloud by Microsoft. And on parallel, we will have Dynamics 365 Business Central on-prem after this fall. So during these sessions, I will mostly cover online version of Dynamics 365 Business Central. Mostly of this knowledge and experience you can also apply to NAV 2018 on-prem also. And Business Central is all-in-one business management solution and evolution of Dynamics NAV. But for us, most is important that it has the same code base as NAV. So current on-prem NAV and current online business central, they are very close to each other with functionality and with technologies how to extend it. And also, how Microsoft loves to say that Business Central is an ERP system and a platform. Means that it very extendable, and you can not use, for example, ERP functionality, and you can write your app just on AL and make it as a web servers, very easy. And here how it looks like, just one slide. We will of course look at this on live demos later. And as I said, Business Central Online and NAV 2018 on-prem are accessible today at the moment. So Business Central on-prem is not accessible yet. That is why we will not cover it yet. And just to show you the differences between on-prem NAV 2018 and online Business Central, I have this slide. So as I said, it has full functionality of NAV. NAV has 23 localizations, and Business Central now have only 14. With NAV 2018, you have database access. It means that you can make SQL scripts direct to database. And with online tenant of Business Central, you cannot do this. Online Business Central doesn't have RTC client, and NAV on-prem has. The license also different. So for NAV 18th, you should buy or rent license. For Business Central, you can only rent it, and license type also different. So with NAV 18th, it's by concurrent users, and Business Central is per user. Also, NAV 18 has enhanced plan. Business Central doesn't have it. It's included in rent. And also license include for Business Central, not only Business Central, but also an SQL, Power BI and cognitive services that works together with online tenant. And NAV also only include NAV license. If we're moving forward and talking about how we develop for NAV or Business Central, there is also differences. So for NAV and Business Central, we can make developments, additional developments. But for NAV, we can change source code, and for Business Central, we cannot. For NAV 18th, we can use VS Code Designer, SQL Management Studio, and Seaside, old Seaside. And for VS Code and for Business Central, we can use only VS Code and in-app Designer. Also, programming languages. For Business Central, we are allowed to use only AL, and for NAV 18th, CL also. About debugging, NAV 18th allow debugging. Business Central don't allow to debug production tenant, but you can debug sandboxes. And we'll talk about sandboxes about a little bit further. And object ranges are also different. For NAV 18th, it could be as it now 50,000 and 10 to 60 millions for ISV. And for Business Central, it can be 50,000 and 50,000 range for per tenant extensions, and 70 millions range for extensions which are published from app source. But I see that there's a little bit mistake here. Here also should be 10 to 16 millions range for ISV solutions also. Also some difference here in costs of new objects. So Business Central new objects are free, and for NAV customers should purchase them. Also, when you develop app for Business Central, which will be published on app source further, you should use object prefixes. And what is it? We will also talk later. For NAV, you can upload FOPs and TXT files, and for Business Central, you cannot. NAV, this is very important also. NAV supports .NET, and Business Central, which is online, it doesn't support .NET. You should use Azure Functions. But maybe it will change when Business Central also become on-prem. I think on-prem Business Central would support .NET. You can upload your apps or extensions from app source for Business Central, and for NAV you cannot. And you need to develop new new code. For NAV, you should have developer license, and for Business Central, you shouldn't. Business Central has a new web UI, as you see it, and we had a free webinar about this. You can follow this link and look up. And so Business Central don't have really much new functionality. You can create sandbox environment from it, and there are some new page types as headline, which we'll cover on the last session, and Q group we will also cover on the last session also. And what's more important, that Business Central can be extended only with extensions to 2.0 technology. And what are extensions 2.0? It's called event-based software architecture, or as I call it, extend but don't change. Extensions 2.0, it's technology, and under technology we have tools. And our tools are Visual Studio Code with a new compiler, AL language as a new language, and Incline Designer as an opportunity to create and design pages using UI. So now we will talk about the differences between old development environment and new development environment. So old development environment, as you know, it's object designer for C-side. It's a platform, and executive file is FinSQL.exe, and what it shows to us, it shows objects, yeah, and objects are records in object table. And language is CL, and we have CL editor, and it shows business logic code, and code itself stores as a blob field in object table also. So when you make some changes to code, you make these changes in a database directly. If we're talking about Visual Studio Code as a new platform, its executive file is code.exe. But what's more important, that it shows us a project, and the projects are a folder. It's just a folder on our disk. And project consists of files. So Visual Studio Code is a file-based system. And language is called AL, and it's very similar to CL, as we will look later. And it also shows us business logic, but code itself is a text inside this AL file. We have some differences in this environment. So C-side stores data in its cultural settings, and AL supports only one format of data. C-side stores Boolean as yes and no, and AL stores Boolean and true and false. And if we create some page in C-side, we can we have IDs, yeah, and and IDs have every control and action, and every control and action also have its names, and names in C-side could be the same in one page, and in AL they should be unique. Also, we have property dependencies in AL, for example, promoted. So as you remember, in C-site, there is 4 promoted options. So promoted category and some other. And in C-site, for example, we can mark that action is promoted. No, we can mark that action has promoted group, but it is not promoted. And AL doesn't allow us such thing. And also AL has application areas. If we develop applications and pages for in AL, we should mark every action and every field with application area just to show to the user. If we will not mark it, it will not show to the user. And we have CL have access to standard functions in objects, and AL has access only to functions that are marked as external. When we develop apps for online tenant, not for app source, we can also use internal functions in AL. And also translations are a little bit different. In C-side, we used caption ML and tooltip ML, and we stored all translations in an object. And in AL, we use caption and tooltip options, and then we create XLIF file, and we'll add this file to a project, and this file will have different translations for our app. So Visual Studio Code, it's open source. You can just download it from a website, and it is lightweight, multi-platform source code editor. Here you have that in the list is Windows, macOS, and Linux, which is true for Visual Studio Code and not very true for AL. AL works only in Windows for now. And it has built-in support for JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js, and other languages. And the key advantage is extendability. So you can, it has a rich ecosystem of extensions. So not only Business Central can have extensions, Visual Studio Code has extensions itself. And it has extensions for different languages, technologies, services, utilities, and even you have different extensions for AL language extension also. And we will look at most useful later. If you didn't see Visual Studio Code before, just some notices about its structure. It has a menu, and it has activity bar where we can go to files and search and GitHub and debugging and extensions. And it has status bar, and what is appeared in status bar is different, and it depends on what extensions do you use. And it has a text editor. So the main window is text editor. and you have a command palette to run different commands. So with VS Code, you operate individual files in workspaces, and workspace is a folder, and you can make changes to different files. You can have different files open at the same time, and but on one moment you can edit only one file. And files are specific for different languages. For example, for AL, you should create a .al file. And as I said, folders or directories or projects, it's the same definitions, workspaces in terminology of Visual Studio Code. And workspaces can be mapped to a source code repository. It is very lightweight, and menus contain only the basic functionality. There are no toolbars, icons, or ribbons. And if you want, you can also change to Zen mode and see only your code. And there are some command palette, as I said before, and if you push Control Shift P, you will see commands, and that will be commands for different languages and technologies. As you see that on the screenshot, there is one command for AL and some commands for GitHub, for Git. And if you press Ctrl P, you will have access to files, and you can search for files. And also, you can configure Visual Studio Code. It is very configurable, and all configuration is made in JSON notation. And you can go to configuration with file preferences or Control Shift P preferences. So you have different layers of configuration. For example, you have user settings and workspace settings. And as a user, you can override any additional application settings and behavior. And also with the workspace settings, you will override user settings. So, for example, you can have some rules how to make clean code in your organization, and you can set up such rules in a workspace, and every user, every developer that who will work with this workspace should be followed these rules. Should follow these rules. And also there are language snippets, and we'll look at what are snippets a little bit later. And snippets are available per language, and you can create your own snippets also. Snippets is some template for code that can be reusable. And also you have keyboard shortcuts, and you can also create your own keyboard shortcuts. So all this is manageable. And Visual Studio Code integrates with GitHub, for example, and you can track your code. You can see who make changes, when, and why. And today I also will show you how to connect Visual Studio Code with GitHub. But if you will prefer in your daily life, you can connect it also with the Visual Studio Team Services or others Git providers. Yeah, so this is about Git integration. You can see committing changes, and you can make different branches to your code, and there are some indicators, and you can initialize your Git repository. So all function and merge different code. So all functionality that you expect from Git is available here also. Snippets. So as I said, snippets are templates for your code. For example, you want to create a page, and as we're working in text editor, there is much code to create an empty page itself. So not to type this code every time, you just use snippet, and all code will be inserted automatically. And you can create your own snippets also. And I will show you now how you can create your own snippets. This is a first demo. Now you see Visual Studio Code, and for example, you want to create some code unit, and to create code unit, we also have a standard AL snippet. But what if you want to create your own procedure, which is function in cell, and you want to use this function every day, and every app should have this function. And just to not type this function every time, you can create a snippet. So to create it, you press Ctrl-Shift-P, and you choose Preferences, Configure User Snippets, and you choose AL file. So you will create a snippet for AL file, and to add new snippets, you just type snippet, and then a name of a snippet. For example, it will be web class greeting, and then you should have a prefix for a snippet. So as you see, Visual Studio Code allow us to choose some properties depending on context. of place where we are. So we can use prefix, and the prefix is what we will type when we want to use our snippet. So in our case, it will be tweb class greet, and then you have a body. And the body is the snippet is our code itself. So we will start a body, and we will type local procedure, show greeting for web class. I will copy, just not to type. So this T means that it will be a tab here, and we just save it. And if we saved it in our code unit, we can type tweb class greet, and you see that here is preview our snippets, and if we paste it, here is our procedure, and you can use it in your every app. Okay. So as I said, Visual Studio Code has many extensions, and there are thousands of extensions for Visual Studio Code, and here are some useful extensions for Visual Studio Code that I use, for example, and for example, Docker. For Docker, you can manage Docker containers and images inside VS Code, and GitLens, you can you can see your changes that were committed with Git and synchronized with GitHub. And with a PowerShell, as you know, you can run many different commands and scripts. REST client allow you to send HTTP requests and view the response, so you can test your web services inside VS Code directly. And the last feature, which appeared about 2 weeks ago, it's a Live Share extension, which enable you to achieve well, it enables you to collaborate online with your code. And maybe during sessions I will show you how it works. It's really magic. And you can install extensions from VS Code itself. For example, you can go here in extensions, and you can search in Marketplace, for example, PowerShell, and see how many PowerShell different extensions they are. Or what you can also have install it from integrated terminal. So integrated terminal, it's here, and you can use commands or script. You can paste script here to install all extensions that you that you use. And Robert asks if extensions are free. Yes. So all these extensions that you can use for Visual Studio Code, they are free. And also, if you want and if you're passionate, you can create your own extensions for Visual Studio Code also. So during our sessions, I have prepared also some tests for you, just to understand how you cover the topics. And the first tests do you see test on your screen? Oh, great. So you can check your knowledge and answer on questions. Or maybe if you have some questions, you can unmute yourself and ask or type. Okay. And I have also another. Oh no, another test. I will start a little bit further. But what we were talking about was Visual Studio Code. But with the Visual Studio Code itself, you cannot create extensions for Business Central or NAV. So to make extensions for Business Central, you need a extension for Visual Studio Code, and you can install it different ways. The easiest way is install it from Marketplace, as I showed you before. I can also show you once again. So you should go to extensions button here and just search for AL, and here you will, I have already installed it, but you will have here like here, for example, install button, and after some moments it will be installed, and Visual Studio Code will be reloaded, and you can start use it. Very easy. But there are some different versions of AL code available, and what you will install from Marketplace, you can, with this AL extension, you can make code for Business Central for Business Central version, which is on production in productive mode. Yeah, but also there are some versions of Business Central that are not available yet, which are under development. But as partners, we can have access to them. On the next slide, I will show you how. Also, you can install AL extension with an NAV from NAV DVD. There is AL language .vsix file, and another way how to install any extension for Visual Studio Code is from a file. So to do so, you should go to Extensions and install from File, and then choose File and Install. Very easy. You can do so if some extension, for example, is not available on Marketplace. Also, you can install AL extension from a Docker container, because there are also different versions, as I said, of Business Central available, and Business Central is distributed in Docker containers now, and yeah, you just can go and use a version of AL which is compatible with a version of Business Central inside Docker container. And also there are two links. And also we have two links. I see that there is some message from Kosa that we are all muted by you. So you cannot unmute yourself. Okay. Let me check. How can I? Sorry. Okay.
Free if you want. What I can do is I can monitor for raised hands and then unmute them if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So yeah, to unmute yourself, I think I see that it's not allowed, but you can raise your hand. There is also such button, and we will unmute you. Okay. Yeah. So there are two links here are also available. First link with the NAV developer preview. You can click on it, and it will automatically create Azure virtual machine with Business Central Sandbox installed automatically. With NAV Sandbox installed. And a second link, which is BC Sandbox, which will give you also Azure virtual machine, but with a Business Central Sandbox installed and predefined. So the process of the last one looks next. So you should have Azure subscription, active Azure subscription, and you click on AKMS BC Sandbox, which will create a virtual machine for you, and there you connect by RDP, and then you just install Git and connect to your Git, and then everything is ready. So here is also some links how to create a sandbox for current productive Business Central, and also there are some guides how to use sandboxes for future versions of Business Central, which are not in production yet, and also a link how you can use and create NAV sandbox. So another little demo. How to create sandboxes. You see here that in Visual Studio Code I don't change folders because I have one project for this different sessions, but I change branches here. And for every demo I have a branch. So the first one option that you can use, I will not show you because it's a little bit time consuming, but you can follow these rules. You can create a sandbox environment from online tenant of Business Central. You should go to this link and open sandbox environment and click on sandbox page there. I already showed this on my free webinar, so you can also watch it there. What I will show you it is how to create local sandboxes with the help of Docker. So I will not cover Docker terminology and Docker concepts here because it's another big topic. There are many links available and blogs and so on about this topic. What I can show you that there is a script that can create a sandbox environment for you locally. And here is some container name, and here is a NAV Docker image, which is very important. And for example, we will create a sandbox for US, a version of Business Central. Yes, you see license file here. Well, if you want to write your extensions, yeah. So developer license is not needed. But if you want to, as a customer, use your extensions, your customer license should have these objects, but they are for free. That is why I have this license file also included in the script. Okay, and yeah. So when you to run the script, you should have Docker installed on your virtual machine or your um, local machine. If you if you create your virtual machine from a Business Sandbox link, as I showed you, all is preset up to there by default. If you don't have Docker installed, you can use this script. So I will not go deeply through it. It will be available for you. What's also important is Microsoft created such module, which is called NAV Container Helper. It's a module for PowerShell, which will help you to manage Business Central or NAV containers. So if we will run this code, you just to use password, and you see that now files are downloading from a Docker Hub, and Docker Hub is a place where container images are stored, and a container image, it's like a NAV. It's like an NAV DVD before, but it's more. It has more functionality, and while it's downloading, I think we can move further, just not to wait. So we can look at it later, how it completed. And now I will show you how to connect to GitHub. So this is another virtual machine, and this virtual machine is what you get when you will run link aka.ms BC Sandbox. Yeah, and you will have Visual Studio Code preset up, and also you will have one container installed, one Docker container installed, and when you will open Visual Studio Code for the first time, you will see this message that Git is not found. You can download Git from here. You just use Git. It's installing, and you click next, 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 next. Don't change, and install. It's installing. All this Docker container just will be downloaded soon. Okay, so it's installed. You can just close this one and close and open Visual Studio Code once again. You see that it found Git. So what else should you do? For example, you want to create your project and synchronize your changes with GitHub. So you say, here go, demo project, and we will not download symbols yet. It's enough. And here you have files, yeah, and you want to synchronize these files with GitHub. And what first you should do is initialize repository. To make this, you can click this button, initialize repository, or you can use git command initialize repository. So this will add some hidden files to your folder, especially for Git. And next, what you should do, it's commit your changes. So you should init, for example, or my first commit, and click on commit and say always. And you see fail to execute Git, and open Git log. Why? Because Git, you downloaded Git, but you didn't configure it yet. So here are some two lines that you should use. You can go to internal terminal and type your mail, and then go to the second one line, copy it, paste it, and type your name. Okay, let's try now. See that they are committed, but if you go to, you should have some account on GitHub. So if you don't have account to GitHub, you should register there. It's free. Okay. What else? To publish your code to GitHub, you should click on push. But here you have some notification that repository has no remotes configured. It's don't know where to publish your code. And on GitHub, you should create a repository for that. It's you can name it the same, for example, or another. I will name it the same. You can make it public. Public is free, and private will cost you about $7 per month per account. So, and here you have some also predefined code, which you should just copy and paste it here. Sorry. And now, if you go and push, okay, your credentials, you will ask for your credentials. It will be only once. Yes. Now, if you will look at your code here, you will find that it's all synchronized with my first commit. And if you will change something here, new message, for example, and save it, you will see that on the changes tab, there are changes here, and you can add second commit. Well, what is commit? You just write about your changes here, so that any other developer will understand what you are talking. What did you change and why? And then you just click push. And if you go to your repository and update it, you will see that here is a second commit, and you will see that new line was added. So when you will make your homework that I will give you, you should, if you want me to check your code, you should create your GitHub account and repository and push your changes to GitHub, and then I will check it from your GitHub, and we will go to the process of how to collaborate in one piece of code through source code management. Let's look how the container works. Oh, I see that it's still working. Interesting extension also here is for Docker containers in Visual Studio Code itself. You can see that we have two containers, nav server and a new one that we just created, and it's green. So yeah, it's finished. So about 300 seconds and ready for connections. And now it's creating desktop shortcuts for us, and container successfully created. And we see that we have a new shortcuts here for our container, and we can just open, for example, web client. Come on. For the first time, it will take some time. Robert asks, can we add those groups of info in VS Code of Docker containers? What you mean? I mean this one? Yeah. These groups will automatically showed when you will install extensions. So, for example, for Docker container, I have installed. We have here installed extensions, and I have Docker Explorer, and Docker Explorer comes with this group, and all other extensions, if they have such groups, they will be shown here. Come on. Okay, let's move further. We'll look at this later a little bit. So now we will talk about AL extension for Visual Studio Code. And AL extension allow us to create NAV objects, to write AL code, to highlight syntax, to see IntelliSense notifications, and we will see compilation errors and warnings in real time, just when we type in something in AL code. And it has an ability to deploy an app to NAV or Business Central. It has a debugger. It can download symbols. And what are symbols, we will talk about a little bit later. What all we should understand that AL extension is under construction, so its new version of it appears every month, and even some syntax can be changed, and yeah, so anything can be changed. And there is a website on GitHub also, where you can For example, okay, maybe it's not ready yet. You can go also to GitHub and this AL GitHub Microsoft./AL, and here are some issues. You see that there are many issues here, and anyone can make an issue here if you want some feature or some feature is not working well. So here is a place where you can talk about this to Microsoft. And to create a new app for or extension for Business Central, you will create an empty workspace, and then just push ALGO command, and some system files will be created for you automatically. So what are the system files? And first is very important is app.json file. So app.json file is a file that have all information about our app. It contains app ID, name, and some additional info about our app. It can be a logo, it can be a website, it can be some description, and so on. And also it can have dependencies from other apps. So this file should be included in source code management. Yeah, I didn't say that when we synchronize files with GitHub, we can create such file as gitignore and tell to the Git which files we shouldn't synchronize with the Git. For example, it could be some our internal description and so on. So some files that maybe not everyone can see, and files that will not influence on our app directly. Then the next system file is launch.json, and this file consists information where to publish our app. So it consists information about connection to Business Central. It can be an online connection to online tenant or connection to offline sandbox. And then, so the important files are .al files, and they contain our business logic. So it should be one file per object, should be. And also we have symbol files such as application.app. Application.app file contains a business logic of standard NAV or Business Central, yeah. And system.app contains system tables of standard Business Central. And as these files, so these files, we need these files only to make our code because we can use some standard objects, of course, but they will not include it in our app. And I will show you what are included in app file a little bit later. And also here can be symbols from dependent apps. So If you don't understand what are symbols on the current state, it's okay. We will see them in detailed when we will have demos. So next demo is to create a simple demo project. Yeah, now it's on. You see that it's a new sandbox from container air app sandbox. So it took time to run it for the first time. Yeah, what I didn't show you also, sorry, I will return to previous demo, is how to remove containers. So we just have created it, and you saw that it took some time to create it, and we can remove it with one line of code. It's removing, and you see that it's removed from Docker containers, and also it removes all shortcuts from a desktop. Yeah. Okay. So going to the next demo. And what I will do is I will create a new app here. So to make so, Ctrl+Shift+P, and I'll go, and I will create a folder inside this folder that I have now. Add dev class some demo app. And you see that Visual Studio Code is reloaded, and now you are inside this app. And it asks, so you see that it created already some system files, and it asks us how to connect to our Business Central. We will work with local, and it will create a launch file for us. And if you just now, for example, type your login and password, so nothing will happen, because you need to set up this launch file before it will download symbols. So to do so, if you will create your virtual machine from BS Sandbox, there will be a shortcut. Oh, sorry, it's not those. This one, landing page, and here are some information how to access to demo environment, and all you need to do is to change server here. What else should you do is to add tenant, because without tenant it will also not work. And you see that you can type tenant here, choose, and it will be inserted with the default, which is okay for our implementation. Next, you see that here is some example of code which goes with ALGO comments, and you see that it is an extension for customer leads, but AL doesn't know what is customer list, because it doesn't have access to NAV objects or Business Central objects. Yeah, and to have access to Business Central objects, you should download symbols. To do so, you should click Ctrl+Shift+P and AL download symbols, and it will create new folder here with two files, application and system. And if you just click on this file, you will not see anything. It's just another app, another extension for AL, which consists of all application files from NAV. But there is an extension for AL, especially, which is called AL Outline. You can just found it. I already have installed it. And if you click on the right button, you can open AL Object Browser here. And you will see all the standard files. Also, you can access them, go to definition, and you will see all the structure, but without standard code. Well, this is useful sometimes. And you see that customer lists is not marked now, because now AL language knows what is customer lists. And you can also go to definition there. You will see also all the structure, but without code. One moment. Also, as I showed you, as I said, you can set up a local workspace, and to do so, you can go here and go to settings, or you can go here and type open workspace settings, which will give you the same file. And all this is file based. So AL extension also have some setups that you can use, and you will go through down and find this AL extension. And there are some setups here, some properties that you can change to make your AL experience more not so maybe comfortable, or maybe more preferable to you. And one of these settings, I will talk about this later, but I will show you how to just set up it. It's AL analyzers. Sorry. So to change anything, any settings, you have a pencil here, and you should copy to settings. Once again. And so you can type anything here. Yeah, you should copy the settings to your workspace settings and change here. So, for example, for AL analyzers, you can have code cope analyzer and save it, and it will be applied to your workspace settings. The same is for user settings. You see that, for example, I have preset up my user experience. I have git default clone directory, and I have connection to SQL, so I will show you a little bit later also how to use it. But these are some settings that are predefined for me, for my AL experience. Okay. Also, you can have you can create a settings file inside your app. For example, you can go here. Settings, JSON file, and if you will move it to VS Code folder, it will give you the same result. So if, for example, you want to add your settings inside your app, you can create this file. So AL code have different comments, and here are, I think, most of them. You can clear credentials cache to, if you, for example, changed your admin user or password. You can download source code. You can download symbols. What the difference between them, we will look after. And you can generate manifest that will create that's the same as ALGO, but with ALGO you create new folder, and generate manifest will create an app.json file for you. And yeah, Go user package, it will build your app in a file, but will not publish it. And publish will publish your app and runs in debugger mode. Yeah, and you have three different publish commands: publish and open in designer, and publish without debugging. So publish will publish your app in debugging mode and publish without debugging. So in normal, it will just publish your app and everyone can use it. So time for some other test about AL. I hope you not sleeping. Once again, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Practically all have completed. Yeah, Robert is asking, can we install NAV and Business Central from DVD? And you can install. You mean can you install NAV or Business Central or Visual Studio Code and AL extension? Okay, yeah, you can install AL extension from the DVD. Yes, it's okay, as I told you. But you should look at version of AL extension, because when you install AL extension from a DVD, it will be compatible with those version of NAV that is inside the DVD. Yeah. Um, don't worry if you missed something. You can always ask me and return to this record, so it's okay. So I will close test now. And it's time for your homework. So this are some steps. Please make this homework, because all this environment will be needed for other sessions. If you don't have a trial subscription on Azure, you can create it. It's free. Also, when you create a virtual machine with AL code from a template, as I remember, there is $200 Microsoft will give you, and one virtual machine will not consume them. But to be sure, when you will finish some coding, you can just shut down it. And then after you created a sandbox environment, then add some useful VS Code extensions for Visual Studio Code. Integrate your GitHub account with the Visual Studio Code, as I showed you, and create your first AL project and download symbols. And then change code analyzer workspace settings to pattern and extension cop. Later, so okay, I don't have a slide with my contacts here, so I will type it in chat window. It's mail, and please send me on this mail your phone numbers, so that I can create a WhatsApp group and include all you there. And inside this group, you can ask your questions offline if you will have some troubles with homework preparations, or you can ask me directly by mail. And now it's some time. We have 5 minutes for Q&A, and you can raise your hand. I will watch and unmute you. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Sorry for bothering. Yeah. I don't have software to run virtual machines. Can I get that somewhere?
When you create a virtual machine, it doesn't mean that you create virtual machine on your local host. So this means that you will create a virtual machine inside Azure.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No, I thought I needed something local, but that's no problem then. Thanks.
You can, if you want, you can make all this locally. If you have Windows, you can install Docker there in Windows, and install also PowerShell is there by default, and you can use PowerShell scripts that I showed you, and also I will share all code that I showed you today with you, and you can use these scripts on your local hosts. And in this case, you shouldn't have any virtual machine on your local host.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, as I have Mac, it's not an option, unfortunately, yet. So anyone have questions?
Robert, you have yourself muted.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I think the Azure environment is probably the fastest option, really. I think that's a good option. I also have a Windows 7 computer here, workstation at home, but I've got my work laptop, which is Windows 10. I'm thinking I could upgrade my Windows 7 to Windows 10 Pro. You need Windows 10 Pro for Docker and everything that we will do, right?
Well, Windows 10 works with Docker, yes. What you need, what you need to check if your CPU allows you to.
Yes, yes, I've got an i7, older one, but it's still i7, so Intel.
Okay.
But yeah, I think for virtualization purposes, do we need Docker needs that anyway? So I think I have to upgrade to Windows 10 Pro, not Windows 10 Simple. Is that right?
I tried with Windows 10 Pro and also with Windows 10 Pro. Yes, I didn't try it with Simple. I can give you a link.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will write some notes to myself. How to create sandbox environment on your local host, not on a virtual machine. What do you need for that?
Yeah, I think it's good to know, but probably the fastest way is Azure, as you said there. I think it's probably the best option.
Yeah, Azure is the fastest, and well, it's free for our purposes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I saw from Dejan, yeah. Can we do all this with NAV 2018? Well, our sessions will be about Business Central, but all this will work with NAV 2018. There is another link, as I showed you at the beginning, here. So for NAV 2018, there is another link how to set up a sandbox environment. But also, when you use, for example, if you create a virtual machine with a Business Central sandbox environment, you can create Docker containers with NAV also. Yeah, so it's also possible to have one virtual machine and to make developments on it for different versions of NAV and Business Central. That's the idea of using containers, to have an ability to at the same time make developments for different versions and to test them on real time. Question: Can we use the resources used in the training afterwards? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. It's what I'm talking about NDA. It's not just sharing all these recordings and presentations, but of course you can use it for yourself, and you can use code, that example code that we will create during these sessions in your production apps if you want. So do you have any more questions? Yeah. Is there a preferred URL for setting up Azure? If you mean Azure Sandbox, it's the first one. PC Sandbox, yeah, will give you the easiest way. I also wanted to receive some feedback from you. So yeah, I understand that today were more theory than practice, and it should be. Other sessions will be, I think, maybe half and half, or maybe 30% of theory and more practice. And but maybe you have some feedback for these sessions. Yeah, the link for this video I will send also to all you after session will be closed. So do you have any feedback if the content was okay, or if it was very simple, or it was very complicated? I don't know. How do you feel? Okay, yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you all for coming today, and please make your homework and ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. I will be available offline for you. And next session is on Thursday, yeah, 25th of May. Oh,
Dmitry,
sorry, 22, yeah, sorry, 22 of May, yeah.
Have you provided your WhatsApp connection information so that they can get a hold of you that way?
I will. I'm waiting for guys will send me telephone numbers, their telephone numbers, and then I will create a group in WhatsApp, and everyone will see that new group.
Okay.
That they are inside a new group.
All right. I'm stopping the recording.
Yeah.